Hello, it's Thursday, the 20th of February, and I'm Rob Watson, and this is a Decentered media vlog where I chat for a couple of minutes about things that have come to my attention about community media and think about some of the things that maybe are coming up as well. This morning I was at a community media cafe in Leicester, which took place at the Bishop Street Methodist Chapel. And it was run by second year BA communication art students at Montfort University. And it was really nice to spend some time. John Costa was there, who would do the Decentered Media podcast with, and Pete Sutton from Takeover Radio in Leicester was there as well. And we were just asked to, we were just asked to speak a bit about our experience with community media and why we think community media is relevant in its different forms. So it was really nice to sit with a group of young people who are starting out on the journey of discovering what community media is about. And I think the overall message was that, it's really important that they get to know and become familiar with community media, because they'll be the advocates for the work that community media does in the future. The other thing that's come to my attention this week was a handbook that's been published by Power to Change. That's the business in the community people. And they've published a community hub handbook. And you can find it at their website, which is powertochange.org.uk/research/the community hub handbook. I'll put the link in the text box below the video and in the blog as well. But you can download this as a PDF. And it goes through kind of the key things that you need to consider if you're thinking of making the step to developing a local resource that you can use, a resource that you can use to meet up with, to engage members of your community in. I mean, it's a lot of our ideas about community development require a place, they require a location, and that needs funding, and that needs managing, and that needs a business plan to support it, and it needs some kind of governance structure to look over it. So this is really, if you like, a pointer in the direction of different things that you need to consider if you're going to start doing that. So it's it kind of runs through things like analysing your community needs. What kind of culture do you want to try and engender? Kind of the reason that people volunteer, and this was something we discussed earlier at the Community Media Cafe. What you're asking people to do is to volunteer and give up their time. So you don't want to make it feel like it's work. It wants to be something which is voluntary, which is something where people can make a contribution, where people feel they belong. But it has to be done in such a way that the building and the space that you've got, the resource that you've got, is secure and well serviced and accessible, and has the kind of the processes behind it that will ensure that it's financially well managed and that it is accountable to people as well. Excuse me. So it's a really nice handbook, and it's got lots of really positive and enthusiastic ideas in there. So, kind of using a community hub, what can they be used for? Well, there's kind of facilities for the local community where you could do activities, health activities, where you can do creative activities, where you can do meetings, where you can do learning activities, a whole range in different levels that you can use it. And when people feel that they can own a space, kind of it gives them a sense of empowerment and a sense of direct control over something which is tangible, not just a kind of vague notion of a service for the community, but it's something which comes from the community. So, offices, play areas, nursery facilities, games and youth facilities, older people facilities, conferences, kitchens, that kind of thing. And you're probably going to reach the point now where, as I've said in previous vlogs, that, it's not regarded as a space for a media hub. And indeed, the report really does point out, it talks about marketing. And one of the challenges, I think, with really just thinking about communications along the lines of marketing is that it becomes quite a kind of a linear way of approaching communications. And my point is that it's better to employ community engagement and community development techniques, which you're doing already, for your media as well, for your communication. Don't think that your activity is separate from your media. It is part of the same thing. The two should be integrated. Your media plan, your communications plan, is your community development plan. It should be integrated into the nature of what you do, because by empowering people and people to have a voice and for people to have a say, sometimes it's appropriate that stays in the room. But what if we open it out and share that experience with other people as well? So the way that we use social media, the way that we use, we can be more creative and inventive about the way that we use video and audio, for example. Maybe not just putting a microphone in a meeting, but the way that we collect views, the way that we gather opinion, the way that we facilitate thinking and development. It's a really powerful tool, and I find the way that I work with podcasts to really allow you to do that kind of deep thinking, and then draw out people's experience, and then you've got it captured then, and other people find that interesting and fascinating to listen to. So you can use your media as part of your theory and model of change, which community groups and community development is often based around these days. So, you make transparent about how decisions are made. Well, how do you come up with a media plan? That should be part of your process. The section on marketing within the handbook is actually quite brief, and it points to the media trusts, which are a really they've faced the challenge of change over the last 10 years to deal with funding, and they really kind of have grasped the way that they have to be on a solid footing in order to be able to help people. But I kind of find some of the advice that comes through is actually more marketing led, and it is more linear and is more transactional. So for example, on the Media Trust's communication support resource hub pages, it's like, how does a charity get a story into the media? And for me, that's kind of a marketing PR approach, not how is your charity using the media. I think there's a really important distinction. Is it, is what we're doing something which can inform people in and of itself to share that kind of experience? And that's what community media, I think, has the advantage of being able to do. So it's, kind of marketing for me is not quite as appropriate for community organisations as perhaps a communications for development approach and a self-empowerment and a DIY approach should be. And this is related to a blog that I saw on Social Enterprise UK, which is socialenterprise.org.uk, and it was a call to action from the CEO of Social Value UK, Ben Carpenter, and he is reflecting on the Social Value Conference, the National Social Value Conference that was held in Coventry at the end of January. I wasn't able to attend, but there were 650 delegates at the conference from largely from public administration, so procurement managers, planning and development administrators, and it's a group of people who are looking at service design, and what they're applying are the principles of social value. And the idea is that social value is defined, there's a few definitions that Ben points out, but it's ultimately about tracking inequality and improving the well-being of people and our planet. And so it can be locally and it can be globally. But it's about saying that it's more than just profit and loss, that there's something of social value for what we do. And there's he lists 10 points, looking at the definition of social value, looking at the scope of social value, so part of the corporate sustainability argument, accounting and reporting. How do you account for social value? It's part of one of the things that they were discussing, and what gives people credibility and what gives you assurance that the organisation that you're interacting with is a good quality social value organisation. And there's a section, number 7, which I really want to find out more about, because it says amplifying voices. Social value is about tracking inequality and can only be achieved through amplifying the voice of those with little or no power. Without this, we cannot achieve meaningful change. Now, I really want to know what that's about. I really want to know what kind of techniques and what expectations people have about how that will be achieved. Because my view is that social value communications and community media are two sides of the same coin. Is that it's about engaging with people, it's about co-designing, it's about developing, it's about facilitating people to have their own voice in the decision-making process, so that when people are representing themselves, it's not being mediated by people from elsewhere, from outside of that community. It's not being handed down to them from above, but it's something that they're confident that is, and they're accountable for, and that they are responsible for communicating on their own terms. So I'm going to try and find out what else is kind of behind that. Lastly, no, I think that was it. That's 3 things, isn't it? So we've got Community Media Cafe, we've got the Community Hub Handbook, and we've got the Social Value Conference. So these things are interlinked, and it would be really great to have some more conversations and discussions about how and in what way these are interlinked, and maybe where we can take them in the future. I'll put the links at the bottom of the in the thingy section below, and I'll put them on the website as well. Go to decentered.co.uk for other blogs, information, updates, access to the podcast. Follow on Twitter and Instagram by going to Decentered Media, but subscribe to the channel, encourage your friends, pets, your boss to subscribe to the channel. They're never going to be much more than a kind of chat from me in front of the camera. I'm not that interested in being a YouTube celebrity, but who knows? So until next time, thank you very much.